Hi, my name is John, and I'm going to be sharing a series of messages on the end times. And as I'm beginning to do those, I wanted to share an open vision my wife and I had some years ago. Some years ago, my wife and I had an experience with the Lord in an open vision. Now He is dealing with us about the end times, and we want to not only share those messages, but a message about that open vision. As soon as my wife and I were married, the Spirit of God dealt with us both in many powerful and wonderful ways. He was very real and very alive in our lives. We were not perfect Christians. We were not special people. We had found grace in the eyes of the Lord. That's all we knew. We read in the Gospels that the Lord said, His sheep hear His voice. From the beginning of my Christian life, He would speak to me in that still, calm inner voice. From the beginning, His voice was very real to me. And many tried to tell me that shouldn't be that way. I should just be reading the Bible, not saying I can hear what He's saying at times. And they tried to insist, even in churches, that I don't carry on that way. They said that God only speaks to us through His written word now. But one night, my wife and I were in our living room. And I told her very sincerely, I have to know if it's Him, or if they are right, and if I should stop listening to these words. At that time, I was lying on the couch, and my wife was sitting on the other end of the couch by my feet. Suddenly, as clear as a person talking, I heard that voice again. I heard Him call me. He said, John. I told my wife, I heard Him call my name. I actually heard it. I said it was so clear, so wonderful. Then I heard it again. And this is what He said. This is what He said to me, saints. In these words, I'll never forget it. He said, John, I love you and I have forgiven you. And John, not only have I forgiven you, but I made a way for you to be forgiven. And John, not only did I make a way for you to be forgiven, but I am the way that was made. And it suddenly stopped. Yet it was so wonderful, so perfectly scriptural for Him to say, not only did I make a way for you to be forgiven, but I am the way that was made. This is pure, simple, straightforward gospel, saints. I said to my wife, I don't care what people say. It is Him. I couldn't see nothing. I just knew I heard Him again. As I then turned my attention back to my wife, I saw the strangest look on her face. In fact, she clearly had a shocked look. I said to her, what's the matter? You're not questioning me now too, are you? Are you questioning this now too? She then started to cry very loudly, and she ran outside. It was late at night, and I ran after her. It was quite late at night. She ran behind a garage that was there, and she was still crying. I asked her what was wrong, but she just kept crying. So I helped her back inside as she continued to cry for quite some time. She only then began to tell me what had happened, what she saw. She said that when I was lying there on the couch, and when I said, I have to know if it's him, she said right there, then, the Lord just walked right through the wall. He walked right through the wall, right beside our front door. Not through the closed front door, but through the wall near the front door of all things. She said that he then walked over to me and put his hand over my ear and was whispering something in my ear. She said she couldn't hear what he was whispering in my ear, but that I suddenly said to her, Rose, he just said to me, John, I love you. And as I would hear him speak those things into my ear, he would pause after a short sentence, and I would repeat to her, not knowing she was seeing him, what he was saying. And I would tell her what he whispered in my ear. Then he would turn towards her and look at her as I spoke to her what I heard him saying. She said that as he was there, his appearance looked like after his was crucified and resurrected. She said that after he had whispered those things in my ear, that he would turn around. He turned around and walked back out through the same place he had walked into the wall. After she saw him whispering in my ear, I would repeat to her what he had said, but she couldn't hear it. She just heard what I said. And after each quick sentence, he would turn and look at her and then go back and whisper in my ear. And after this, he just walked back out through the wall in the same exact place he came in. Just like he had done those times with his disciples after his resurrection. Do you remember that, saints? In John 20, 19 and 20, it says, when therefore it was evening on that day, and it was late in the evening, and when the doors were shut, and our doors were all shut, and they were doing this for fear of the Jews, that he came and stood in their midst, and he just walked through the wall. I couldn't see him, I could hear him, but she could see him walk in like a normal man. It was just him, but he was able to walk right through the walls. And he said to them, peace be with you. And when he had said this, he showed them both his hands and his side. And the disciples therefore rejoiced when they saw that it was the Lord. She saw him. She saw his hands. She said that he was speaking of forgiveness, and he looked as he did after he was crucified. She said that his face was beaten and bruised. Parts of his beard had been pulled out. She said there were holes in his forehead where the crown of thorns had been put on his head. I asked if he had holes in his hands, and she said to me, it was odd. She said it was very odd. She said that the holes were between his wrist and his hands, and that they were at the very back of his hands near his wrist. We only found out after sharing this vision. We didn't know then that the Romans didn't put the nails in your hands as we see pictures and statues and everything now, because you would just slip off. They would just slip right between your fingers. There was nothing there to hold the nails, so they would put them at the back of your hand, at the front of your wrist, and that's how she saw it, and she never knew that that had happened. There is more to this vision, saints, but I live in a wilderness area, and I have almost no internet available. I have to keep these messages very short. After I record one, I have to find the spot in between the mountains where I can get a signal. And I have to drive to that same spot every day to where the best signal is. And then I have to upload these messages. I try to keep them short because if I just make a 10 to 15 minute message, it takes me anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 hours to upload it. That's how bad our internet is. And there is more concerning this vision, and I will share more about it. But it will have to be done in another message because I won't have time. I'll never be able to upload it if I continue. But I do say this, saints, that I ask, that I want one thing for you, that you would have an ever-increasing revelation of the Son of God and his purpose in and through you, that you would know his purpose in these last days, and that you would be prepared for him